Hi there, it's Skyward Shield. Welcome to Football Talks. We are in week 3. As week 2 is now done, I am joined by Bill. Say hello, Bill.
Hey, hey, hey!
During our pre-game discussion, our pre-podcast discussion, I actually found out, doing some math, that Bill went a perfect 16-0 in week two's picks. Bill has a big lead over me, which is actually, I think it's a 2 game lead now. But even to be
Yeah.
fair, I didn't do that bad. I only got 3 games wrong, which to put it one way, we are better pick guys at making picks than most NFL pundits did, and I'll gladly get into that. Should I do it now or after? What do you prefer? I just
It's
want to.
whatever you want to do.
I
I
will
think,
show you, Bill. I will get you the picture ready because so you can see for yourself. Basically, it was the old pro football focus sports picks for week 2, and let's just say they made some. I wouldn't say popular pick.
interesting.
Yeah, they made some interesting ones. They went against. There was a lot of major picks, not sweeping ones like say Baltimore against the Browns, which that was a clear, easy one. But then there were some, in my opinion, it's like that team's not that good to say that they get a free win. I was hoping
Right.
Detroit would do the same thing like with the Saints, but I guess they had their fun that year. Now it's all business. But I'll show you, Bill. Here you go. So
Oh,
basically,
yeah.
so basically, Thursday night football, or no, let's get the Monday night one because we're going to talk Thursday first. So the Monday night one, all but 2 people picked Detroit or picked New York. Steve Palazzo and Gordon McGinnis both picked Detroit. Congrats, guys! You two look like geniuses. But at the same time, you didn't pick Houston on Thursday. So come on, man. Come on, man. You got to bring the moxie for Monday. What about Thursday?
Right. I mean, good lord.
Speaking of come on, man. Yes, last night I was just bored, so I decided to watch the Come On Man compilation from last season, and I got such a kick out of it. I remember the badly formed dog pound banner from that 1 in 15 season, which perfectly encapsulates the entire
Yeah.
Browns season that year. But anyway,
Yep.
let's get into the games. Thursday night football. It was an ugly game. It was not fun to watch. I know I didn't like it that much. But I at least saw the plays that mattered, and at least I can live to tell the tale. So the Texans and the Bengals, the Bungles, I should say, 0-1. Nobody wants to go 0-2, but somebody did. Somebody needed to win and get a big step in their divisional race for the playoffs, and it came out to be the Texans. The rookie quarterback ran it in himself, 49 yards. That's got to be one of the best rushing, the big rush plays since I believe when Arian Foster was a Texan. What, 2013?
Something like that. It's been a while.
That was all they needed to win an ugly game of 13-9. Let's get this bad stat out of the way. The Bengals have had their first 2 games at home and have only put up 9 points, no touchdowns. Got shut out their first game. That puts them on a level of the 1939 Eagles for least productive offense at home.
Yep.
That's bad,
Uh,
very bad. Now,
and,
what are you gonna say, Bill?
no, Andy Dalton has just not looked very good at all this season. He's looked really, really bad.
Yeah, it's horrible. It is. I don't know how much I can put the blame on him, but we know the blame went to the offensive coordinator who got ousted just like last year with the Bills after they went 0-2 when they lost to the Jets. But I will say this was not the best game by Watson. I felt like, as everyone said, I don't feel like I'm bringing anything new to the table here, but Bill O'Brien was very conservative with Watson. I felt the plays were very limiting and almost predictable to an extent. And the offensive line, and here's the thing, they had no tight ends. They had to get a tight end off the practice squad who I think only got 1 or 2 targets and didn't even catch either of them. They had
Right.
extra offensive linemen play tight end, but not actually go and catch the ball, just stay there and be there to protect him, and it still wasn't enough. Geno Atkins had a great game. he had to have been one of the best defensive players in week 2. I know everyone wants to say Von Miller was the best, but Geno Atkins was eating up a bad offensive line like it was nothing, and Dwayne Brown is still holding out. Even with all this time, I figured they would want to get him back, but Rick Smith is stubborn and saying, no, we're going to wait till next year to discuss his contract.
I mean, and this is a major issue because I mean, legit, their offensive line is pathetically bad, and it's going to get their quarterback hurt. If it's not who was starting? I don't even remember who was the starting quarterback for the Houston Texans.
It's
I know
Watson.
just the shot. Yeah, no, the guy before Watson.
Oh, Tom Savage.
Oh yeah, Savage. See, that's the sort of things that'll get Savage or Deshaun Watson hurt. And do you want to get your franchise quarterback, your first round draft pick, injured in his first season? Not only do you cut down his time behind center, etc., etc., but that's the way that they're on track to getting Deshaun Watson hurt. And I think it's a very big disservice to the team. It's a very big disservice to Dwayne Brown. It's a big disservice just to the overall culture of winning in that city.
I swear, I just say, just make the guaranteed money that he can still make, or make the money he can make for this season guaranteed, and then you could discuss contract extensions after. Just get him back on the damn field. That's all I would just say. Like, how about we just make your this year guaranteed, and then next year we could discuss contract extensions or whatever. We just need you on the damn field right now. And again, here's the problem. They can't address this in the draft exactly because they forfeited their first and second round picks. So they can't get anybody who's likely to be a starter without trading AN.
Yep, I mean, they're in a rough place right now on that offensive line, and
They're
really the
also
only way
rough
they
in
can
other
go.
positions now. Because you remember, tight ends are already a problem. They put C.J. Fedorowicz on the IR boomerang. I don't know if Steven Anderson and Ryan Griffin are going to start. They signed a guy named, I think, was it Evan Baylis? I don't know. I need to check I need to check
Ever.
again. Might check the news on my phone. But what I do know is that they did release Jalen Strong, actually. Huh.
Right.
For some reason, I don't have Wi-Fi on my phone.
Huh.
But I'm talking to you right now, Bill. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, let's go with that.
Yep. Oh well. Either way,
But
they did release Jalen Strong, so now they're even shorter on wide receivers. They got that Andy Jones guy back who they got from Dallas after the 53-man rosters were made. But they're low on cornerbacks too. Kevin Johnson's going to miss 6 weeks, which I like Kevin Johnson, but man, he can't stay healthy. He keeps getting injured. And then of course you had Jonathan Joseph. Also, he hurt his shoulder. It's not severe, but I don't know how long he's going to be gone. All you have left is Kareem Jackson, and you have 2 weak corners. Now you could say, oh look, you're going to play New England. They're going to exploit the hell out of that. I think they still are, but New England's also pretty low on wide receivers, which we'll talk about later. But Week 3 is going to look ugly. Something's got to give because you have a bad defensive line and a bad offensive line going against each other, but you also have a weakened wide receiver core from the Patriots and a weakened cornerback core from the Texans. Something's got to give, and I'm going to probably trust New England to do that better than Houston ever could.
right. I mean, the issue you hit it right there. Their defense, Houston's defense was very much impacted in the last few weeks, and the Cincinnati Bengals couldn't take advantage of it in that game. They couldn't take advantage of a depleted secondary in that game. They couldn't score anything.
Yeah, which is surprising. You would think, considering they at one point triple covered AJ Green, and he still caught a deep ball pass.
Yep. I mean, it was an ugly game, like you said. It was definitely one of those snooze
The
type
only thing you need to
games.
watch from there were a few things. the sacks on both quarterbacks because they were getting mauled. Like I said, people were saying that Andy Dalton's going to have his head broken off by week 3. That might not happen considering the Packers' defense is rather soft, but if any other teams can do that, that's probably going to be the other 3 NFC North teams, or even, say, Jacksonville or Tennessee with their defensive fronts. They'll probably kill Andy Dalton at this rate. AJ Green was actually pretty frustrated. He expected more out of the offense, especially considering that. But that's not my favorite thing. My favorite thing were there were reports coming from Bengals journalists that they were shouting in the locker room, "We just lost to the worst team in the league." I'm not sure about that because at that time you were the only 0-2 team. So as far as I'm aware, you're the worst team. Here's the thing, Bill. When the Bengals play the Browns, I think next week or 2 weeks after, or 2 weeks later, I'm taking the Browns.
Yeah,
Because right now the Bengals do not look like they're in any condition to win games.
the Bengals are by far I might even put them below the Jets right now. The Jets at least were competitive. The Bengals, if that Houston offense came out and was actually somewhat competent, they were pretty incompetent on the offensive line. That's the only reason why they kept getting off the field. Legitimately, if they kept moving that football, that game was a 34-9 blowout waiting to happen. Legit. That offense for the Bengals is really bad right now, and it had to do with the offensive coordinator.
The crazy thing is that they did not.
Dalton.
The crazy thing is they did not stick to the run. It looked like they were going to, but as soon as they got behind further, they decided we need to pass, which was the worst thing to do for Andy Dalton because it helped him get sacked. Now, granted, he didn't get sacked by the big 3 like I thought. It was surprisingly by the linebackers. Bernardrick McKinney finally coming into form, having a monster game, and then of course, Zach Cunningham having a good game too for a rookie. Even an undrafted free agent in Dylan Cole, who just started because Brian Cushing had to get suspended 10 games for using steroids again, made plays. The inside linebackers were making plays while the defensive line was being held up. There was one other thing. Hopkins was getting the ball a lot. He was challenging Pac-Man Jones and Trey Kirkpatrick? I forget his last name. Either way,
Yeah, I don't know.
he was challenging all those secondary, which those are all former first-round picks, by the way. So they're pretty good, if you ask me. It's a pretty solid secondary. It's not no-fly zone in Denver tier, but it's something that should be good enough. But even so, Hopkins was schooling them a little bit in his own way. And Watson was eventually coming into a better form as the game went on. He was making plays with his legs, he was extending plays, and more importantly, they were chewing up clock. What really killed the Bengals was the fact they could not get the Texans off the field when they needed them to. Mind you, they didn't let the Texans score a touchdown because if they did, it would have been over. That would have been definitely no hope at all.
Yep.
But the Texans were able to go down the field by either Watson doing it himself, running the football effectively enough, and getting the ball to Hopkins.
Yep. But I think part of the other thing with the Houston-Cincinnati game, it just goes into the typical thing which we all expect in Thursday night games is it's going to be terrible football. And every Thursday night game is terrible football. It's flat out garbage football. No one wants to see a 13-9 game. Give the teams some time to work on their game plans. And if you want to make it like Tuesday night football, go ahead. But
I'd rather have just Monday night doubleheaders at this point.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a little more entertaining. It would plus it would at least help ESPN considering they got bamboozled. They pay over $2 billion just to host one fucking game. That's stupid.
And they don't even get good games per week. I mean,
Hold on a second. Hold on a second, Bill. All right, sorry about that. Continue, Bill.
I lost my train of thought, but
It's all right. It's all right. I want to get a move on with to the next game, but the
all
last
right.
thing I wanted to mention, that final play. It was the only major play J.J. Watt was noticed for, drilling the center. He slammed him. In fact, there is a video. I don't know if I sent it to you, Bill, with who's one of those commentators for WWE. His last name's Ross.
Oh, Jim Ross.
Yeah,
Jim
or
Ross.
he killed him.
My
He killed
oh
him.
my God, he killed him.
That was that.
He's
I
dead.
like that. J.J. Watt murdered him. It just shows, like, to me, I always wanted the idea of what if you put J.J. Watt and Rob Gronkowski in a WWE situation.
And
It would end.
I mean,
It would be looking like that.
another good one would be the old WWE with Rhino and just gore. Oh man, that would be another good one. But yeah, that play was that play after they kept throwing it around the field. J.J. Watt was like, "I've had enough of this bullshit," and just dropped him.
Yep, good tackle. That was very enjoyable. Anyway, yeah, congrats Bengals. You might very well be the worst team in the league. The only teams worse than you right now are the Colts and the Jets, and it's a little debatable at this point. Anyway,
What?
next game with the team that the Texans will play next, the Patriots, the throne of ease. Once again, all is fine in the world because they just destroyed a bad team. The Saints were overhyped as fuck in the damn preseason, which the preseason is now a memory.
Yeah,
The,
means
the
nothing.
all the Patriots needed to do was just do enough in the first quarter, and that was it. And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah,
Tom Brady looked like in real good shape, like always, getting touchdown pass to Gronkowski, which Gronkowski was about to get tackled by a corner and just stopped his movement, and the guy missed. One of the
yeah.
oldest tricks in the book. I think some people think that's when he hurt his groin, though, so there are some injuries, again, with the Patriots, which is very bad. But regardless, the Patriots came out on top. The running backs looked impressive. James White looked a lot better here, even if he didn't, get a lot of touchdowns. His playmaking ability as a running back and when extending the play with his own legs is pretty good.
They have a great stable of running backs. Rex Burkhead was another good addition right there, and he proved his worth until he got hurt in this game as well. Mike Gillisley proved a lot of proved that week one was not a fluke, and Chris Hogan had a pretty decent game as well. So it was a building tool. It definitely felt like a Bill Belichick. Like, okay, we have to learn from the previous game. They learned from it. They came out fired up. Everyone was like, "Oh, it's a matchup of Drew Brees. It's gonna be a high scoring affair." It was high scoring for one team.
Yeah,
you
but like
know,
I said, there are some worries for this team now. Just 2 weeks in, if you've lost this much, you might have lost more players than you did that year the Broncos went to the Super Bowl. Because now they have a good running back core, now they don't have any wide receivers. They may have to turn other running backs into wide receivers, like a reverse Ty Montgomery for the Packers, to make up for this. Because they had to sign, I think, extras and maybe put another on IR. But now you need Danny Amendola to come back for the Texans, because if anyone can exploit that, it's going to be him. Because with that, if
and
you can't, I think Philip Dorsett will be a good addition to the to the Patriots in the long run, hopefully. But even so, I don't
and
think Brady can trust him with making deep passes, which is what he's meant for, which is a bit of a problem.
and once I don't think Brandon Cooks has figured out the offense. Once he figures out that offense and what he's supposed to be doing, he is going to light up a team, and it's gonna be his breakout game with the Patriots, and then it'll be he'll be trusted more and more and more. I think he hasn't figured out the offense yet and what they're doing just yet, because that's a complex offense to learn in your first year. Obviously, he'll get it as time goes on and more study and in real game situations. Preseason means nothing. It's legit. All preseason is to get guys ready, run the football a little bit, and get them conditioned to get into the regular season. It's simplified schemes, etc. Now is where, players like Cooks, players like that can start figuring out the offense and hopefully growing into the
Yeah,
offense.
well, some of them can't even get a chance to learn the offense if they can't stay healthy. They only had one
Exactly.
healthy wide receiver during at the end or at the start of the fourth quarter, which is very bad because I think they could get away against the Texans, but eventually they're going to start playing the better teams like Denver, like Atlanta,
Yep.
and to be honest, I am a little more worried about those games.
Oh yeah, definitely. Their offense is the key to their chances of repeating as champs. That much is sure
Yeah, and
because
everyone's
the
finally taking notice that without the loss of Rob Ninkovich is going to sting for a while. Without the solid pass rusher guy, they don't have much for a pass rush. There was that fourth round pick who looked pretty good today, but like I say, that was against a bad team. I need to see him make plays against a more formidable team. Like he could maybe do the same thing with Houston, and I'm still not gonna buy on it just yet.
right. Legit, that defense didn't. The Patriots defense, I think, needs to gel. They need
The
to
corners I think are
really.
fine. I don't think they're as much of the problem as it is the defensive line and the linebackers. They don't have a linebacker who could go in for a blitz or just go in to rush the quarterback as well. Just in general, they
Right.
the only one is Dante Hightower, which I think he's coming back this game. They say he might, but if he doesn't come back this game, it should be the week after for sure. Which
It feels like it feels like the bend but don't break Patriots of the New York Giants era when the Giants beat them. It was the bend but don't break defense. Whereas, the last two Super Bowls the Patriots won, they had an actual legit defense.
yeah, the core is gone. In fact, I was gonna say I feel like after seeing this week, I'm starting to think a lot of cores that were once Super Bowl contenders or even made it to the Super Bowl were finally giving out. I'm starting to be convinced, like in baseball, if you can't make it to the World Series again after you maybe lose, like say, how do I put it? I noticed this. I noticed this sooner. Technically, it's like especially with the Rangers last season. I realized the core is too old. They need to redo it
Yeah,
all. Otherwise, you can't. I
yeah.
can't ever see the Rangers going in to the World Series. Right now, the
I mean,
Astros have a good shot at doing it, but
look
can
at
I say that five
look at
years from now?
a good analogy to that sort of idea is the Chicago Cubs. They have a young core. They're good again this year. They're going to be in the playoffs again this year. They're going to go deep into the playoffs again this year. You know, it's teams like the Tigers that have an old core that made it to the World Series, then didn't make it, and then didn't make it,
Yeah,
and then
now,
progressively got worse.
right now, the Patriots' defensive core at least is feeling a little off.
Yeah, they're
The
feeling
offense is
dated.
just injured. I can't say they're tired or they're fading out. They're just getting injured. You can't go around that. But
Right.
honestly, I will tell you this is a bit off topic. I feel like the Seahawks once. I mean, I know they start slow, but when I get to the picks in a couple weeks about a certain few games that you think, oh, they have to win this. Oh, you'll see what I mean. But I just feel like the Seahawks are fading away. The offense does not look good. The Legion of Boom's gonna tire out sooner or later, and if it's not this year, it's probably gonna be next. But anyway,
Yeah.
I don't have much else to say about New England. Just gotta wait and see for Week 3 against the Texans. Something's got to give.
I
Like I
agree.
said, they have a couple situations which are bad for both teams, but something has to give.
Yep.
Because
I
like
agree.
they say, somebody has to win this game. If there's a tie somehow, that's bad. But yeah. Anyway, next up we now this one. was this one was supposed to be called a game of the week, but it was everything but that. It was not good at all. Uh, Dallas Cowboys going to Denver. Denver, I did not think would be this good, but they were. The defense feels like it's Super Bowl 50 form, except maybe even better and more alive. Because they lost some good players after they had to pay a lot of money to Von Miller, but it's like the younger talent they drafted or they got from other ways have shaped up. They've come up into form, and this defense looks incredible. The no-fly zone. I know people like to talk the Legion of Boom as the best secondary, but I'm starting to think that no, they're just too old now. And the if and that's because there are a couple old players on the no-fly zone, but they feel much more physical. They look like they're quicker to turn the ball over, as you saw what they did to Dak Prescott. The Broncos put a clown suit on the Cowboys. The Cowboys only got 17 points, but really they only got 7. The rest of the points were in garbage time. It was
Right.
not a good showing by the Cowboys, and the defense got exposed. I was going to tell you, I did not think this defense would be as exposed as this week until they played Green Bay. I thought if anyone's going to show how bad this defense is, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers because it's what he does. He makes them go off sides, gets a free play, he exploits bad coverages, he does it all. But I did not think
Right.
Simeon would do it like what he did to them.
Yeah.
Some would say, but they're injured. To be honest, even if it was entirely healthy, I don't think this score would not have happened. I think it would have
I,
happened sooner or later. If the
to be
what are you gonna say, Bill?
I was gonna say, to be fair, I think this was going to happen no matter what happened because that defense is too good, and their offense just they couldn't match the defense that they were playing.
Yeah, like I said, if Simeon did this to the Dallas defense, I am scared to see what Aaron Rodgers could do if you give him enough time, which I feel like they might, even with his weaker offensive line. I wouldn't be surprised Aaron Rodgers can make some plays by that time because his players that are injured should be healthy by that point. They sound like they're only going to miss a week or two at most.
Right.
So until then, we'll see. But the Dallas defense really bad. I'm not sure what I mean. They got that turnover at the beginning of the game, which was that was promising, but I think that's how they have to come off the field if the offense isn't doing anything. You have to turn the ball over, and I said that. It's like, oh, they're gonna have to get another turnover again at this rate because the offense can't do anything in long yard situations. They have to be in the red zone to have a shot. But
Right. I mean, the way that offense was performing against that defense in that game specifically, they kept running the football right into the heart of a really good defense. They took what Dallas wants to do and they stopped it.
yeah, and well,
And
here's
what
the
Dallas
ironic
wants,
thing: Denver did what Dallas does best and run the ball. C.J.
yep,
Anderson and Jamal Charles look so good as a tandem.
they looked they looked really good. And the crazy thing about them is that they are different running backs, but yet very similar running backs. Jamal's more of the pass catching back, the slasher, and CJ is more the up the field pass catcher as well. And those two really complement each other really well, and that's a thing that they can build off in the future. You know, this was a good game for Denver to sort of test, how far along Trevor Simeon is as a quarterback. Can he dissect the defense? Can he get everyone into the right plays? Can he because at a point Dallas was coming after them pretty relentlessly with blitzes and all sorts of stuff trying to stop them.
And they couldn't.
And He
I mean,
kept
to be fair,
changing the
the
plays.
only bad play he did was missing a wide open Demarius Thomas. He didn't see how wide open he was because one of the safeties bit for a blitz, which was not a good idea because if Demarius Thomas was completely free, I think that the next cowboy from him was about 10 yards or so away, and it
Right.
would have been a 10-yard walk to the end zone, and that's it. But even aside from that,
Yep.
Simeon played a great game. The Broncos are a legitimate surprise to me because I did not think the offense would be that well. Because to be honest, the all of what the pundits said, which I'm starting to be unsure if I should take their word for it. They say that Simeon doesn't look good, Lynch doesn't look good. It doesn't look like a good QB season this year for the Broncos. Right now, I say no. I think you were wrong. Like, I
I
know people
mean,
want to credit John Elway, like, he's one of the best GMs out there in the history of this league because he doesn't make mistakes. He's made great decisions ever since he got Peyton Manning.
I mean,
Um,
think,
I just want to say, stop that because I know you will love him. I know everybody likes him. He's a likable guy, but however, he's made a mistake. I'm starting to think, as things stand right now, I'm thinking, why did he go out of his way to get Paxton Lynch? Because it's been so long. Paxton Lynch doesn't even is apparently not even starter ready. What have they been doing with him? What have they been trying? How have they been trying to help him? He doesn't even look. If he doesn't look ready, but Simeon, who you've had all along, is getting better. Why did you even draft that guy? You could have addressed another need for your position. I don't know what that might have been at the time, but you could have got something else instead who might have been a better player and probably be a starter right now. Why did they waste? Why did Why did they bite for Paxton Lynch? I know he was already
uh,
considered a project, but come on. How is he losing to the seventh round guy? The seventh round guy looks like him. Unless Paxton Lynch is wearing Trevor Simeon's skin and going out on the field, I don't know why. So I'm just like, don't give John Elway too much credit. I know it sounds like I'm
right.
taking it away from him, but I don't think he deserves this much praise either. He's made mistakes. This is one of them. This is one of his stupid choices.
I mean, the issue is I don't think a lot of people are giving Trevor Simeon the credit he deserves for putting in the work to becoming a better quarterback. He reminds me of a 2001 to 2002 Tom Brady. Now, that's a lofty comparison, but the overall idea is the exact same. Tom Brady was not considered this. Everyone looks at Brady with he had a 50 touchdown season, he doesn't throw interceptions. He was at the very beginning of his career a game manager type, sort of like Alex Smith. We gotta make. I will never forget the Super Bowl. Oh, we gotta make sure that John Madden was saying, "Oh, don't let Tom Brady make the mistake that'll lose you the Super Bowl." You know, that was the idea of Tom Brady 15 years ago. And Trevor Simeon is very much a cool-headed guy. He makes he makes very few mistakes. He doesn't see people that are wide open, but you know every quarterback does that. He's got 6 touchdown passes and 2 picks. What more can you want from that guy? Do you think the Chicago Bears would have loved to have Trevor Simeon rather than Mike Glennon right now? I mean, Trevor Simeon out is killing and outplaying the Bears quarterback on a whole different level. Do you think the Colts would love to have Trevor Simeon right now? They, I mean, Jacoby Brissett came in and did a decent thing, but I really honestly believe that Trevor Simeon's not getting the love and the respect he should be getting because he's doing enough to win games. All you have to do is just win, baby, and that's how you stay in the NFL.
Yeah, yeah. But just win, baby, goes for the Raiders. But still, that's a good analogy. I will say, Simeon's not even playing like that chip on the shoulder type of guy right now. He's just playing because he wants to be the starter. It's as simple as that. and I can respect that. He dissected a bad defense, which is what he should do, because a good team
Definitely.
should take out. In this, I wouldn't say the Cowboys are a bad team, but like I said, I thought they weren't going to make the playoffs. I thought the Giants would, but when we get to the Giants later, I feel like the Cowboys kind of have to make it in, because I am not drinking the Kool-Aid for the Church of Carson Wentz. Philly, Carson Wentz is not your Lord and Savior yet. He has not proven that. Just because he had
Yeah.
3 good games to start his rookie season does not mean he is the next Aaron Rodgers. Shut up.
I'm not going to say that Trevor Simeon's the next Tom Brady. I look at him more of
I
of
think
a
he'll
Matt
just be like an
Schaub.
Alex Smith, a good starter.
Yeah, Matt Schaub, Alex Smith type. He's a legit good starter. He'll win you football games and he'll get you to the playoffs.
Yeah, because
It's
here's
up
what
to
they did.
you to
They
surround
stuck
him
with
with a
him.
great team.
They stuck with him. This is what I've noticed with the problem with the NFL now, and this is I'm partially on fans like us, on all of sports fans right now, because they demand results immediately. It's like why I said Tony Romo was good, because they kept him on the field no matter what happened. They every rep, even when you're losing a game, every play you do is a rep. Every play should help you get better. Now,
Right.
there are those which you can tell are clear busts, but as long as there are signs of improvement along the way, I say you keep the player out there. Which is why I'm saying keep
Trevor,
Watson out, no matter what. Even if the Texans go on a losing season, or they just go 8-8 or 9-7 and miss the playoffs, I'd still want Watson, because at least you can say, look, Watson in his rookie year helped the team go 9-7.
there's legit teams that would kill to have a Trevor Simeon at quarterback rather than the quarterbacks they got right now.
Yeah, but as for Dallas, fans are like, oh, it's the end of the world. The Cowboys are done. Are they done from getting to the Super Bowl? I didn't think they were Super Bowl contenders to begin with right now, just to point that out there. But are they a playoff team? Somebody has to win this division. People said, "Oh, the NFC East is going to be the best division." No question about that. It's so easy because everyone so loves sucking on the NFC East dicks. But no, they weren't that good. I mean, last year they surprised us, but now they can't surprise us. They can't rely on that because people have studied that game tape. They haven't brought anything new to the table. If the Cowboys brought a good defense to the table, they'd have dominated against the Broncos. They'd be a Super Bowl contender at that point. Until I see the Cowboys have a good defense, I'm never calling them a Super Bowl contender.
Yep, their defense is legit their Achilles heel, and until they fix it,
Like I,
and they haven't
like I
fixed
said
it
last
in
year,
5 years.
it's like I said last year. When they lost all 4 of their games, including the playoffs that year, why did they lose them? The defense was the problem.
Defense, easy. Yep.
And why
And
did they
when
lose
they
this
get to
game,
a
Bill?
defense, easy. Their defense got ran all over.
Yeah. Before I move on we move on to the final game, I just wanted to mention one last thing about Zeke. Zeke, he went only, I think, 9 attempts for 8 yards, or as the numbers were switched. Either way, that's not good. He got shut down easy by the Broncos, which again, credit to them because they are a damn good defense. They are what I thought Houston would be.
Yep.
But Jason Garrett called him out on it, saying that he was not playing. Like he gave up on the team. LaDainian Tomlinson, the former Charger legend, said that he also gave up on the team. I wasn't sure about this. I was going to defend him, and I will a little bit. I'm gonna play a bit of devil's advocate here, because if you want to prove that, look at one of the interceptions Dak Prescott threw. In fact, I think Prescott threw his first pick 6 this game. I'm not sure. Anyway, people were throwing Zeke under the bus, and people were also throwing Dak under the bus. When I get to the Dak part, that's where I'm going to be annoyed. Very, very annoyed. But we'll get to that in a minute. In one of the interceptions, Zeke, who was about 5-6 yards away, he's fast. He calls himself the fastest player in the Cowboys. He did not try and stop. I forget whoever took the ball. He did not try and stop him and keep the game alive. Now, granted, you could say the game was dead at that point, but as a player, I don't. I would think any coach would say, I don't care who you are on the team, captain or just some rookie I picked up from the streets. You make that play. You go and stop that guy. If you can't reach him, fine. But as long as you're trying, that should be all that matters at that point. He didn't do that.
Right.
Garrett has reasons to call him out on that, and I don't mind that as much.
Right.
And I understand at the same time Zeke is going through a lot of shit with the whole having everything exposed about him, with the whole ex-girlfriend accusations. But still, that's when you're on the field, you shouldn't let that affect you too much. You shouldn't let that be on your mind all day. I'm pretty sure that wasn't on his mind anyway. I would have understood week 1, but week 2, I don't think so. Because the hearing is not coming until at the end of week 3.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm going to shame Jason Garrett for this, throwing Dak under the bus, saying Dak was a problem, saying Dak was not having. And was that his worst game? Yes, of course. But here's the thing: Zeke and Dak should not be acting spoiled about this. You're going to have bad games like this. This is sports. This happens to the best of teams. Remember when last year people thought Golden State Warriors, was Kevin Durant a bust? Even I was saying that, but mind you, I just hate the Warriors. Of course I'm going to say that. But even so, even in the bottom of my heart, I knew it doesn't matter. They're going to probably go to the title game anyway. And sure enough, they did. Against the same team that owned their asses in game 1, which was the San Antonio Spurs. Beat them by 50 points. But even so, it didn't matter. They got their shit together. But even so, the team didn't blame anybody. They just took it like, we need to just do better next time, and that's what they did. They didn't shame each other. They didn't start drama with each other. They didn't do any of that.
It's about how you react to adversity. And the Dallas Cowboys reacted to adversity by throwing temper tantrums.
And they never had big
temper tantrum.
Yeah, they never had deep losses. Like when they lost to the Giants, they're like, yeah, it was a close one. We could have just done a few things better, but we'll get it together because it wasn't that bad of a loss because you still had a lead in the division at that point when you lost the second time. It's like, it's okay. We may have lost this game, but we just need to win the games afterwards, and we punch our ticket anyway.
Compare how Dallas reacted to the Denver loss to how New England reacted to Kansas City loss. New England reacted to the Kansas City blowout, opening week with their championship banners going up. They're the defending champions. They get blown out at home, and they go, we're on to the next game. The Dallas Cowboys, how do they react? They react with, well, Dak Prescott had a horrible game. He had a really bad game. We blame this on this person, this on that person. That's not how you do this. How you win championships is how the Patriots handle stuff. How every team, the most dysfunctional organizations will consistently lose games like this. This is why the Seahawks have issues, because they're always pointing fingers at one another.
But even so, they somehow get their shit together and make the playoffs.
Instead of closing your mouth and doing what needs to be done and fix what needs to be wrong in the locker room. It's exactly what we're going to be talking about pretty soon with another NFC East team.
Yep, I feel like pretty much all of these NFC East teams are going to have locker room breakdowns at some point. But the last notes, I wanted to finish saying about Dak, blaming Dak. Garrett, you don't do that. Garrett, I understand Zeke because Zeke was not trying, but Dak is playing his ass off. And remember, I'm still not going to call him a legendary quarterback that he's for sure settled, because we've seen what happened with RG3, and that should prove to you that even if you have a stellar rookie season, and in Dak's case, the best ever, I'm not giving him any awards until he's actually really proven consistently that he is a starter. This was a bad game, yes, but welcome to the NFL, because this is what adversity feels like. When a team game plans and knows all your tricks, this is the point where you start realizing, I need to find a new way, a new tactic of approaching these games, instead of doing the same old, same old. Variety, I need to master different varieties of skills in order to win, and then master those skills if I can. Master what skills I believe I'll need for the field next week. Can they bounce back? Yes, I think they will, because they have a very frail and exposable Cardinals team. But after that,
Right.
we'll see. I'm still not sure on who's going to win the NFC East now because it's garbage. It's nearly as garbage as the AFC South, but we'll see. Anyway, so yeah, I just don't understand why Garrett. If Garrett keeps shaming his quarterback, I'm gonna start asking why isn't he fired? Because I don't like that. Because that's a bad attitude to have for your team. Remember people were saying Garrett should have been fired 2 years ago. I said no because it's not his fault. There's so many injuries. Injuries are one
Right.
thing, but just blaming your team and causing conflicts in your own locker room is not okay as a head coach. You take the blame and move on. But anyway, let us move on to Monday Night Football because the Lions, Bill, even now, they said pundits were saying, "Oh, the Lions need a win against this Giants team, but the Giants are going to win. The Giants are a good team. They're too good for this. They were a playoff team last year. They can't lose."
Odell Beckham this and blah blah blah. Oh, the Odell Beckham going to go off and have
Yeah,
200
and he had
yards.
Savage on his visor. Yeah, that was pretty savage. That game, it was a pretty savage loss for Odell Beckham to take. Why even start him if you're going to only use him in like third down situations? Anyway, the Lions were never behind in this game. The best the Giants could do was tie it at 7-7. After that, it was all Lions to a very convincing 24-10 win. But somehow not convincing enough to pundits, which is why I'm hoping week 3 Lions you need to hang or even beat the Falcons to you need to hang out with or beat them because if you can do that, people are going to start looking at you. And if somehow they still say, "Oh, I'm not convinced, guys," I will want to punch a bitch. Because, come on. How are they? I feel like the Lions have done better now. Now, some would say 27 million. I'm seeing people like Moonlight Swami, who I love that guy. I like that. He's one of my favorite sports YouTubers. But if he's retweeting shit about, "Oh, Stafford is a 27 million per year quarterback and only threw 122 yards of passing," what's like, in a very sarcastic way saying, "Did he really need to be paid all that money?" When you're doing good as a unit, you don't need to ask your quarter. I'd rather have if I were say a Packers fan and Aaron Rodgers only needed to throw 100 yards to win get a convincing win of like 30-7 against a bad team or an even middle of the road team. I'll take it as a fan because that means I didn't need to rely on Aaron Rodgers that much. At that point, I could say I can let the rest of my team do the work. I can let the defense do the work. I can let special teams do work and set up for me.
I'm just gonna be brutally honest. You get what you pay for. Now you're paying high amounts of money to the quarterback. Now you can do what Cincinnati did and pay Andy Dalton $100 million, but most of it's in guaranteed money, not in guaranteed money. It's in incentives, etc. So in reality, he's not $100 million quarterback. He's nowhere near $100 million quarterback. You get what you pay for. Now, Stafford is more of a guaranteed money, but guess what? He's won more. He's winning at a high rate of speed. The Lions are on the march towards being a Super Bowl contender. You keep a 28-year-old quarterback that is a 5,000-yard throwing quarterback, has had 40 plus touchdown seasons, and his completion percent keeps getting better. Now, I I respectfully disagree with any person that says Matthew Stafford is not worth the money that they paid him. Any any organization in the NFL would have paid Matthew Stafford the exact same amount of money that the Lions paid him now. That is the overall that's the overall crux of this argument. You know, was Brock Osweiler worth $100+ million to the Houston Texans?
It was, he
No,
wasn't. He was not worth the
but
87 million they signed him for, and they still have to regret it. They had to pay And they still had to pay a lot of money in guarantees, but they were lucky enough to get rid of
Yeah.
it because the Browns were eager for draft picks.
Well, the other thing is his deal was decently guaranteed, but it also was a lot of incentives as well. So really, you were paying about a 50-50 share between, you know, guarantees and, incentives. Whereas, Stafford's more like a 70-30 guy. That's more money tied up into your quarterback, sure, but he's more worth it than Brock Osweiler ever was, and you get what you pay for. Now, getting to this idea that the New York Giants were going to, you know, defeat us, after their first game when the Dallas Cowboys shut down their entire offense, and we saw what happened to the Dallas Cowboys offense against a real defense. You know, the Giants defense is vastly overrated.
To
It
me,
is
I say
vastly
they can't.
overrated.
I feel like they're on the field way too long because the offense can't do shit. Because imagine, last year, remember, this Broncos defense core is mostly the same, but they were not doing as well because the Trevor Simeon at that point in his career could not stay on the field very long. Now he can, and then you see what happens. It's like with the Giants last year; they were able to do just enough on offense, and the defense had plenty enough time to do their work. Or
But with the Lions, there's always this ridiculous double standard. Matthew Stafford needs to throw for 300 yards every game, but what does everyone criticize the Lions for not doing? Running the football. What did they do better than they've ever done in the last 53 games? They ran the football for over 100 yards. So maybe here's a hint: they ran the football effectively, and they didn't need to throw the football very much because the Giants defense couldn't stop us running the football.
yeah,
There's a
they were
hint.
very stubborn on that, and they even admitted it. They said, "Yeah, we were very stubborn about running the ball." Which again, it
Yes,
goes
and
into what I said earlier. It's like what I used with the Aaron Rodgers example. It's okay if Aaron Rodgers only needed to throw 100 yards of passing if they still had a convincing win because that means you don't need to rely on him to carry your ass.
exactly. I would rather my running game and my defense carry me than have to see
And
Matthew
we see
Stafford
what
throw for
happens when
400
Stafford
yards.
is needed. He steps up. But it's to me, if you're a good team, if as a good team, you don't want to rely on Stafford. You don't want him to force throws to just save the game
Yeah.
if you can avoid it. I would rather not. I like people said. One guy said, I just want a good, boring game where I know the Lions win, where it's a comfortable win." And yes, to me, it kind of was like that in a sense. Like it was an easy win, but I'm not mad.
I
I'm glad.
I
I'm
don't
happy
give
they did that.
I don't give two craps if Matthew Stafford's getting paid $70 million and he gets $1 million for every yard in that game.
Yeah, like well, if
I
he's
don't
taking
give two
this team to
craps.
the playoffs and winning playoff games, then the contract's worth it. You win a Super Bowl with him, well,
All
guess what? Everything people said in the past can go to hell.
all that matters is that the Lions ran the football, played excellent defense, and they didn't need Matthew Stafford to throw for 400 yards. That's a refreshing thing for the Lions to have going for them. Where Matthew Stafford doesn't need his best game ever, he doesn't need to throw for 400. If you're throwing for 450 yards, something's wrong. Like the Saints Patriots game, there's something wrong with your team if Tom Brady is needing to throw for 400 yards to keep him in front of a team. There's an issue, and that's their defense was the issue. There's an issue why Eli Manning was back to pass constantly the entire game because they couldn't run the
And they
football.
couldn't even protect him. They had to rely on quick throws to stay in the game. Because if any longer than 3 seconds, and Ziggy Ansah would have gotten, and guess what? 5 sacks by the Detroit
I
defense. Ziggy
I
Ansah had
just
three of
I
them.
just
Ziggy Ansah owned Eric Flowers.
I just feel it's a ridiculous double standard. Oh, is Drew Brees worth the $100+ million right now that he's throwing for 450 yards and losing every game? Is he worth the
Is that
money
his
that they're
fault?
paying him right
Are
now?
those games his fault? No.
No. but he's throwing for 450 yards and 6 touchdowns per game and having 50 touchdown seasons, but they're 4-12. Is he worth the money right now? He is not worth $100 million. Is Matthew Stafford, who's 2-0, throwing for 120 yards, winning games, worth the money? Yes, he is. And that's my point of contention.
Yeah. Well, like I say, well, to me, it's like the best similarity I can give is like with when I talk about Splatoon 2 with you, Bill, because there are times where I typically average, commonly with say my Aerospray, for example, my main weapon, I go over 1,000 points, and yet I still lose because my team is just not keeping up and they're not following up. How much can I say is my fault if I get 100 over 1,000 points of turf coverage? I take out say 3 to 5 enemies, and I get to use my ult 4 times, and I still lose.
Right.
How much of that could you say is on me? Again, it's a team sport, but that means everybody needs to contribute. If you all contribute enough, then it looks like I could even do matches where I'm at like an MVP type of caliber of 1,500, and I still lose. So it's like, oh yeah, I can't take any blame because I did my job.
I'm just tired of this ridiculous. The media coverage about the Lions is ridiculous. No one gives us any credit for beating a bad team like the Giants. Oh, the Giants are going to win. And then the day after the Lions absolutely stomp them, what's the matter with the Giants? Well, it's the exact same thing that was the matter with them before they played the Lions. They weren't a good team. They have a terrible running game, and they have a terrible offensive line. Eli Manning's playing like garbage, and their defense
Odell
is
Beckham is still acting like a child when he's losing the game. He knocks out Jared Davis with an illegal block in the back, and there was no flag. I hope at the very least they fine him, because they sure as hell not going to kick him out for a game. They're not going to suspend him for a game for that. I know they won't.
The two best teams in the NFC are the Atlanta Falcons and the Detroit Lions. They're very similar teams, and both teams didn't get a single chance by most pundits because they played the perceived great teams in the New York Giants and the Green Bay Packers. Oh, but they're the exact same. The Packers and the Giants and the Seahawks and all these other teams are the exact same thing, the Cowboys included. They have this perceived greatness in their flawed team.
Well, remember, some people prefer teams in brand name alone.
Yes. The two teams that have a legit full-on squad are the Falcons and the Lions. Those are the two teams that have
I would add the Buccaneers,
and a legit offense.
Yeah, I would add the Buccaneers, but they only played one game. I need to see them in week 2, but because this was their week 1. But yeah, to me, those are the three. What, Bill?
I'm getting a little fired up because I'm sick and tired of
watching. Bill, you saw how fired up I was in seeing people talk about how the Lions did. It made it more of a Giants issue, and then of course, Colin Cowherd, man. Come back to us, man. Come back to me. You make a top 10 list and say the Eagles are number 4, but you don't put the Lions? Like, and they lost. He's like, I don't care if they lost. I still think they're great. It's like, where are you drinking the punch in the church of Carson Wentz, boy? No.
I mean, there's certain power rankings that have the Green Bay Packers ahead of the. Are you effing kidding me? They could barely beat a terrible fucking offense in Seattle, and they obliterated. They got obliterated at home against the freaking Falcons. Or no, they were on the road against the Falcons. But if they were so great, they should have beat the Falcons on opening night of their new building.
Yeah, and pundits said they were too, apparently. But no, they were wrong. Yeah. We picked the right team. But I'm going to check. One of my more favorite analysts, Elliot Harrison, made a... Oh, yeah, guess what? The Packers are just above the Lions. But here's the thing. The Lions have a big opportunity because they play the number 4 Falcons. If you beat the Falcons, or at the very least contend with them, you are going to be taken a lot more seriously. Like, you could lose 30-27 in overtime. And I would still say the Lions are a much better contender in the NFC than the Packers are, because the Packers are not complete. The Packers are the wrong way to treat a franchise quarterback, kind of like the Colts, but the Colts are the how do I put it? They are the exaggerated way of doing that, which at that point gets your quarterback off the field. In fact, I'm starting to be convinced that they are purposely keeping Andrew Luck on the shelf for the whole season just so he doesn't get hurt again and wait till next year when they could build a new roster. I'm starting to be. It sounds like a conspiracy theory, but at this point, I feel like I'm getting onto something.
Here, here's my issue with the media, and it's always been this anti-Detroit bias because of the way the city is perceived for the last 30 to 40 years, that this place is a cesspool of violence and etc. It's a national collective thought about the city, and when the city has a great team, we're given nothing. We are given no recognition, and this city is tired of being viewed as America's punching bag. It's done. We're done listening to the media being negative about our teams. I don't give two fucks what these stupid fucking pundits say on these stupid shows like Rob Parker. Fuck that guy. He can go fuck off. The Lions are a better fucking team than the Packers. They're a better team than a lot of other teams in the league. And I don't care what happens in this Falcons game because we know which team's a better team between the Lions and the Packers. The Packers are a legit broken bunch that don't have their wide receivers.
They have to rely on the quarterback to carry them. They have to rely on Aaron Rodgers and only Aaron Rodgers, and that is why they can't win. They can never go into the Super Bowl again because back when they did win the Super Bowl, they had a decent core. They had pieces that they didn't need only Rodgers to help make good.
Yeah, they had Charles Woodson. They had a legit defense. They had Clay Matthews there. I think
he was in his prime at that point.
If he was there. Yeah. Are they in their prime now? No, they're nowhere near their prime, and Aaron Rodgers is on the back half of his career. Now, I'm just done with this idea that this city is overlooked, and we're done with everyone constantly shitting on us. It's over. We don't care what anyone else thinks about us. That's why one of the mantras of this city is Detroit versus everybody, because we feel like it's everybody against us.
Yeah, and this is why this week to me, Bill, will really shape up how it goes. But anyway, before we get to the picks, let's just mention again, Woo. Bill, you went 16-0. I think that's the first time, possibly in our podcast history, that someone's done that. I think I nearly did it once. I went 15-1, but you went the full 16-0. That's got to be a very good achievement. I'd give you a prize, but I don't have anything, so sorry about that. All you get.
My prize is the rage and I feel at the freaking media.
Oh, trust me, Bill. I am very. You knew how many times I messaged you last night. How annoyed I was just seeing all these people because everyone made it a Giants issue, which they do have a problem, yes, but they oh yeah, sure, give the Lions some credit, I guess. But like I said, yeah. I understand people may have a reason to be skeptical because the Lions have always broken the hearts of their fans.
Yeah, they've always been bad, but this is a legit team.
It feels good like everywhere. I agree. Anyway, other games I wanted to mention. This was a sucky week overall, if you ask me, because the Vikings didn't show up because they didn't bring Sam Bradford, who apparently hurt himself. The Chiefs-Eagles game was the only good game, the only close game, if anything. The Bucks sent the Bears to the Shadow Realm where they belong. The Rams disappointed me, and to be honest, I think I'm going to stick with my pick for the 49ers to beat them, because the 49ers challenged the Seahawks. If that was in San Francisco, I think the 49ers would have won. The 49ers defense is for real. And I think DeForest Buckner is going to be a star player sooner or later. At that point, you can't ignore the 49ers any longer. He's going to be a face of the franchise. And, oh man, speaking of that, I actually saw a couple of, one of the sports analysts I saw apparently got a text from one of his friends saying that, do you think the Cowboys are regretting taking Ezekiel Elliott over Jalen Ramsey? And I say I would have rather taken Ramsey, but I like that transcendent cornerback type of player, like the next Deion Sanders. I would have wanted that.
Right.
Might have been helpful against, say, Demaryius Thomas, because he can shut down those elite corners. But anyway, Bill, Yeah, and the Falcons blew up the Packers. What else is new? The Raiders went back home and sent the Jets to the Shadow Realm. That made me happy. Consumed by the black hole. I just wish there were no more Jets. Just gone, stuck in the black hole. So they just go 0-16, and every team that had to play them pretty much has a bye week. Anyway, Bill, are you ready for the picks? All
Indeed.
right, Bill, let's get started.
All right. First game up is the Thursday night game. It is the Los Angeles Rams at the San Francisco
I'm
49ers.
going with San Francisco getting their first win. The offense wasn't that good, but I just think this defense will do enough to set up that offense to get short yardage scores. I think they'll do just enough.
I have the Rams. I think their offense is corner, and Jared Goff is the real deal. They got a good rookie in Cooper Cup. They're trending upwards.
I agree. I agree. I just feel like the 49ers need to win something. I think this is the first game they get.
Next up is an early morning game on Yahoo. The Baltimore Ravens at the Jacksonville
Yep,
Jaguars.
it's the London game, Bill. We're finally starting this. I have Baltimore because if you thought the Titans humbled the Jaguars, the Baltimore is going to how do I put it? They're going to silence the Jaguars. Saxonville, where were you last week? Where were you last week, Saxonville? I didn't see you last week against Tennessee. I know I got that wrong, Bill, but I was so happy to see all these Jacksonville fans acting like, "Oh, we're so tough. We beat the Texans." Then you get destroyed by the Titans. Go back and jump in your mayonnaise pool, you little shits. Actually, did you ever see that, Bill? The people jumping in
No.
a swimming pool of mayonnaise.
Ugh.
It's like, what are you guys, Team Mayo? Is this Team Mayo still rubbing salt in my Team Ketchup wounds?
Oh
Ugh.
man. I I got the Ravens as well. They're just a better team than Jacksonville.
Bill,
Just flat out.
I think his name's Tyrus Bowser. I like him, mostly because of the name. You know that sound effect that plays when you enter Peach's Castle in Mario 64 for the first time? They go like da da da
Yeah.
da da da. I want that to be played at the Ravens Stadium every time he makes a good play, like a sack or something. You play that, maybe add the Bowser laugh if you want.
Just yeah, just the Bowser laugh, that would be amazing. But the 1 o'clock games, the Cleveland Browns at the Indianapolis
Okay,
Colts.
this might be called an upset of the week. No Andrew Luck. I'm gonna go with the Browns. Browns getting their first win of the game here, or first game of the year.
I've got the Indianapolis Colts. I think they'll do just enough, but I this is not 100%. I'm very shaky on it.
Oh, come on, dog pound.
Next up, the New York Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles.
I'm gonna go Philly. Like I may have given the Church of Carson Wentz a lot of shit, but this is just gonna make those preachers even worse. The Giants are gonna have a. They already had a lot of bad trouble with the offensive line, but this might very well actually be the sneaky best defense in the NFC East now.
I've got the Eagles. I'm so over everyone picking the Giants against Detroit. Now I've got it out. So yeah, I got the Eagles. Next up, the Miami Dolphins at the New
Jay
York
Cutler
Jets.
had the weirdest Hail Mary ever. Apparently, I don't know if that. I didn't see it, but if that whether that's true or not, I think Jay Cutler will do just enough to win for this because for the Dolphins because the Jets are trash. Jay Ajayi is going to run 200 yards over them like he did last year.
I got the Dolphins. Yeah, the Jets are a bad team, and Jay Ajayi's gonna go crazy. Next up, the Denver Broncos at the Buffalo Bills.
Oh boy, Denver looked devastating there. I think this one's going to be a very ugly game like the Panthers game last week. I'm going to go, let's see, 15-9. In fact, the 9 is coming from a safety from Buffalo as well. So yeah.
Oh man, I got the Denver Broncos easily handling the Bills. They didn't look very good, did Buffalo? Next up is the New Orleans Saints at the Carolina Panthers.
I think the Panthers defense will do just enough. The Saints defense got even more battered when they lost Marshall Lattimore, their rookie, who they really need to step up for them ASAP. But nope, I just feel like Kelvin Benjamin is going to get like a 80-yard touchdown pass, run ahead of every Saints player, and get the go-ahead touchdown to win the game.
The Panthers haven't looked good on offense, and the Saints haven't looked good on defense. So I'm going with the New Orleans Saints just because I think Drew Brees will do
Oh
enough.
man, Bill, is this upset of the week alert for you now?
Oh yeah, yep. Next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Chicago Bears.
There's no steel curtain anymore, but I'm pretty sure you may as well put a steel curtain over this bear because these bears look ugly. And by the way, people are already chanting out Mitch Trubisky's name. I can give you the perfect answer for when he'll show up. Do you want to know, Bill? You want to know the spoiler?
When?
Week 5 on I think it's Monday Night Football. It's a primetime game against the Vikings. Perfect debut.
Yep. I've got the Steelers easily crushing the Bears. They're gonna pick off Glennon like 4 times. Next up, the media darling of this week, the Atlanta Falcons at the Detroit Lions.
I'm going to ride this Detroit Lions train because they are so fun to watch. I'm enjoying them a lot. I'm going to go with Detroit. I originally wasn't. I think I picked the Lions in the back when we did our season predictions, just like with the Giants. But I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna trust Detroit. I feel like they're gonna do just enough to beat this team. It's gonna be about as good of a game as you remember that London game a couple of years ago, Bill. It's gonna be like that.
Yep. Yep. I mean, this is the NFC title game preview right here, and I've got Detroit.
Oh, really? We see differently. I have another NFC South team going to the old NFC title game.
Probably this one right here, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Kings.
Say that again, Bill. You cut out.
Probably this one right here, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Minnesota
These
Vikings.
are the guys. These are my darling teams that are fun to watch, or the darling team, and I'm going with them as another upset of the week. Tampa Bay, especially if there's no Sam Bradford, this isn't even upset alert. This is just a good team with a good quarterback doing enough to win against a good defense. I'm going Tampa.
I got Tampa as well. I can't pick that the Vikings with Case Keenum right now. Case didn't do really well last
Hey, Bill,
week.
who would win a death battle between a Buccaneer or a Viking?
I think a Viking would go crazy and kill the Buccaneer really easily.
Hey, but if they're on their boats, I'm gonna trust the guy with the cannons.
Yeah, the Vikings though, hand to hand, they'll go crazy. They'll rip the skin off of them. The next game is the Houston Texans at the New England.
We mentioned the bad matchups here just by sheer injury numbers. It's bad. This is not going to be a pretty game. I'm going to go with New England just because I trust Tom Brady. I just hope Deshaun Watson keeps showing improvement here.
I've got New England. I think they're gonna win pretty handily too. Next up, the 4 o'clock games. The Seattle Seahawks at the Tennessee
Okay, Titans, if you're for real, you can pull this one out of your ass, but I don't see it happening. I'm going Seattle. Like I say, Seattle starts bad, but they always figure it out at the end. I'm going Seahawks.
I've got the Tennessee Titans beating the Seahawks. The Titans are a legit team. Mariota's play really well, and the Seahawks offensive line is an absolute fight. It's an absolute mess. Next up, the Cincinnati Bengals at the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, this is going to be ugly. The Bengals are about to go 0-3. They are about to hit a major. Actually, let's ask a big question: who's going to tank harder this year, the Cincinnati Reds or the Cincinnati Bengals? I have money on the Bengals personally.
Well, the Reds are pretty terrible this year as well.
They're lower than the Pirates in their division standings. That's sad.
Yep. I've got the Packers though in football. I hate to pick them, but the Bengals are terrible. Next up, it's the Kansas City Chiefs at the Los Angeles Chargers.
You know what? The Chargers are going to have a big lead over this game. I'm talking like 30-10, but then guess what they do? As the antithesis to the Detroit Lions, they're going to blow that lead. It's going to be 33-30 with 5 seconds, and they're going to blow it. They're not going to make it.
Oh man, so you're predicting the Chiefs?
Yes,
win, eh?
the Chargers are going to blow the game in true Charger fashion.
I've got the Chiefs demolishing the Chargers. They're going to absolutely blow them out. Next up, the Sunday night game. The Oakland Raiders at the Washington football team.
The Oakland Raiders brought their black hole with them, and it's going to consume the Washington football team, and it's going to be glorious. Derek Carr and Michael Crabtree are on another level, except this game I think is going to be big on the it's going to be big on the running backs and also big on Amari Cooper. I want Amari Cooper to break out in the primetime lights. This is the perfect game to do it.
I've got Oakland absolutely stomping Washington. I see that as an easy win for Oakland. And then the Monday night game, it is the Dallas Cowboys at the Arizona Cardinals.
This would have been a good game if David Johnson was here, but alas, not all good things come true. The Cowboys are going to bounce back and be 2-1, and everything will be peachy keen in Dallas.
And I also have the Dallas Cowboys winning pretty easily.
Yep. All right, Bill. Let's get next week's Thursday night game in case we're not around.
Next Thursday, it is the Chicago Bears at the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, God. After this game, you're going to see Mitch Trubisky. The Packers are going to manhandle the Bears, no problem.
And I think this is going to be a close game, but for right now, I'm picking the Packers, but I reserve judgment until after this game.
All right, then. Well, then, that's going to do it. This was a longer episode, but I enjoyed it. It was a good talk. Very fun, Bill. I hope you enjoyed this one. This has to be one of my favorite recording sessions. So yeah, this will be the week. This is going to be a really good week of football. I just know it. We'll see you guys then.